What's good, my statisticians? It is Professor Sampson from PS I Love Math, back with another statistical banger stuff. So let's get right to it. But of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I am at 200 subscribers. 200 down, 800 more to go. And you know you want to see some more statistical bangers so you can get that A in your stat class. So let's get ready to share the screen and get busy. So what do we have today? So today we're going to talk about creating frequency tables and class boundaries, midpoints, relative frequency, cumulative frequency. All right, so we're going to get all of these down. So we're going to start with this problem. It's in the textbook that I use for my class, but it doesn't matter. It's all doing the same thing. So if you read here, it says the following data represents the weights in pounds of 24 collegiate offensive linemen in a particular state. Use 6 classes and have a class with the 25 pounds. Begin with the lower class limit of 175. So what's going on in this one is the fact that they give you the class width and they also give you the lower class limit. So know that you're not always given that. So just so you know, to find your lower class limit, you look for the lowest number. You can use that number, or you can use a lower number that allows you to count easily. So for example, if you were given your lowest number was 3, you would probably use 0, so you can make your counts easier. If your lowest number was 7, you probably use 5, etc., etc. 13, you probably use 10, just to make those counts easier. In this one, they gave you a particular one to start with, which makes it a little bit easier, and maybe yours isn't as easy. So just remember, you find your lowest number, and then you go a little bit down from that to make your counts easier, to make your math easier, so you can do it on your hand, so you won't have to rely so much on the calculator. So that's how you find your class limit. Now, to find the class width, in this book and in my class, I'm giving you the class width, but if you want to get a video on how to find the class width, just comment down below and I will create a video for how to find a class width when you don't have one. Got it? All right, let's get busy. So we're going to do all of these together in one big table, but understand your instructor may or may not want it in such a table. So I'm going to do this in conjunction with my calculator, just to show you how it works. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the lowest number. Now I could go through these numbers and find the lowest number, hunt up the lowest number and go that way, but I'm just going to click over and show you how to do it on your calculator. So let's, boom, pop up that TI84 and let's see what happens here. So I'm going to clear out what I have in there. Remember, to clear out your calculator, you go to the top where L1 is and you hit the clear button. Do not hit the delete button or your L1 will be gone and you'll be starting with L2. Okay, so you hit clear and you put in a number. So you can follow along with me, go back to the video and pull up those numbers and we'll put them in. All of those numbers are in there. So let's switch back. Take a look, give you a second to look at it so that you can also put it in there. So while you go and put these numbers in here, I'm gonna go make me a matcha.
Just give it up. I'm not your girl and I never will be. Don't call me up. Don't waste your time, cause I'll be your enemy. If you want love, look somewhere else. Here you'll find nothing. Just give it up. I'm not your girl, cause I only love me. Don't get me wrong, you and I could have fun together when I feel done with having fun on my own. It's better to care for yourself, not rely on somebody else. So don't get me wrong, I'm just riding alone. Just walk away, cause I can always.
Thanks for helping me make my matcha. Don't forget to subscribe. All right, we're back. So once you have put in all the numbers that you see here, you can pause the video or watch my matcha video, right? So I got all my numbers here. What's important is we want to see the lowest number. So we put all these numbers in and they're in any order. So in order to get your numbers in order, because your numbers should be from lowest to highest, is going to help you create your frequency distribution easier. You just go back to statistics on your calculator, the stat button, and you go down to sort A. And it's going to ask you, hey, what do you want to sort? Well, where did you put your stuff? You put your stuff in L1. All right, so you put your stuff in L1, so you want to hit L1. L1 is on top of the number 1 button, but it's blue, so you got to hit blue. So we hit second and L1, so we're going to sort, boom, there you go. And it say what? It say done. But these students are like, well, what's done? Well, it's done, it's sorted. So you want to go back to stats, go down to edit, and booyah, there it is. See, now they're in order. Remember, before they weren't in order. Try it yourself if you don't believe. These are in order. So we see our lowest number is 178. So had we not been given the lowest class, we would have said our lowest numbers is 178. So we're going to start at what? 175. So we would start at 175, which is what we're going to do here. And in the question, it started us off at 175. All right, so we're going to use 6 classes. So I'm going to start off with, what was that, 175. And again, they told us to use a class width of 25. Remember, your class width is how you get from lower class to lower class to lower class. So we're going to take that 175 and we're going to add 25 to each. That's why it's important to have a nice friendly number, so you're not steadily picking up your TI84 trying to add. So I'm going to add 25 to each one of these classes. Add your class width to each one of the lower class limits so that you can have your lower class limits. You go back and backfill your upper class limits, because if you do 175 and then you put 200 on the other side, your whole problem is wrong. You done got an F and you're crying and you're crying and you're crying.
Why are you crying? Why are you crying?
You're crying, you know, because you done failed your class, all right? So 175, and what do we go up to? Well, it's 175 to 199. Remember, these classes can't overlap. Why? Because the numbers can't go into the same class. You got 2, then you got 224, and then we got 249, and then we got, remember, we're backfilling 274, and then we got 299, and then what's going to be here? Well, you would remember what? That you would have to remember that your next class here would have been what? Would have been 325, right? If you had one. I just popped it down there. So if your next class would have been 325, then that means that this would have had to have been 324. All right, keep that in mind for later on. But we got our classes, so we got some class, and we got 6 classes, so we got some class. So now we have our class, what are we going to do? All right, we got our 6 classes, so let's see what the directions say. First, we're going to include the frequency. So now we're going to include a frequency table. So we're going to include the frequencies here, all right? So we're going to go back and count up those frequencies. Now, how are we going to do that? Now, I would go back to my calculator and just check them off. It's easier to do from your calculator because remember, your calculator has it already listed from lowest to highest. So go back and check that out and do it there. But I'm actually going to do it from here, from the data. I can't see. I guess that's 195. So I'm going to put a check right here. And I'm going to go ahead and put my tallies here.
Many months later.
That was a lot. All right. So we have the numbers and we should be ready to get it right. So that takes care of that. Okay. So now we have these numbers. Again, I went to do the checklist and here are your frequencies. Done. We're done with the frequencies. All right. So now let's move on to the class boundaries. So the boundaries are the numbers that bound these classes. So that cradles the class like a baby. right? That cradles the class. So you're going to have a lower class boundary and an upper class boundary. What? Too much definition. All right. So you're going to have a lower class boundary and you're going to have an upper class boundary. Why? Because your numbers, your class is going to sit in here. So for 175 to 199, what bounds it here and bounds it here? So when you're asked for a class boundary, either you'll be asked for a upper and a lower, or a upper or a lower, or they'll say after that, and we got a ticket. Oh my God. Okay, so anyway, so you'll be asked for a lower class boundary and an upper class boundary. If they ask for you to just the class boundaries, make sure you include 2, all right? Don't include 1, all right? So how do we find out these class boundaries, all right? We could do a TikTok, and find the class boundaries, but that's not going to help us. We're going to straight up fail, right? So instead of trying to do that, we're going to do the math to find out our class boundaries, all right? So remember that this 175 to 199 class has a class boundary. Now this number is going to pop up out in the middle, right? So if I knew how to do videos, I would just go, and it will pop up. So the thing is, to find the class boundaries, you're going to use the upper class limit. So let's back up. We didn't remember, this is called the lower class limit, and this is called the upper class limit. Just in case you forgot, you should already know that if you're looking at the video. All right, so to find the class boundary, we're going to take the upper class limit of the one class, and then the consecutive lower class limit, right, from the next one, and we're going to divide it by 2. Okay, so what's consecutive? Consecutive means the one right below it or right above it. So we're going to take the upper class limit and the lower class limit, right? And we're going to divide it by 2, the upper class limit of the prior class with the lower class limit of the current class, and then divide it by 2. So I'm going to start, if I label these classes 1 through 6, I'm actually going to start with class number 2, just to show you. So if I wanted the lower class boundary for class 2, I would take what? So the lower class boundary for class 2. Okay, so anyway, we're going to take the upper class limit, right? And the next lower class limit, and we're going to add them and divide it by 2 to get the lower class boundary, class 2. So I'm going to take 200, 199, add that to 200, and divide it by 2, right? And I'm going to pull out my handy dandy notebook. If you don't know how you use your calculator, just quit that. No, if you don't know how to use your calculator, what you cannot do is go 199 plus 200 divided by 2. Yeah, Professor Sampson, I know how I use my calculator. Boom, you got the wrong ass answer. Okay, so you can't do that. Why? Because the calculator is going to do what? You remember from 3rd, 4th, 5th grade? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please excuse my dear Aunt, please. All right, so please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? So it's going to do division first, but that's not what you wanted to do. You wanted to add the top 2 and divide by the bottom. If you put it in that way, then it's going to be wrong. So you have 2 choices. Choice number 1, all right, is to just do 199 plus 200 and then hit enter and then divide it by 2. We got an answer. Or you can do the parenthesis and you can say parenthesis 199 plus 200 and close that parenthesis and then divide that by 2. Either way, you get the right answer. You don't get the wrong answer like 299. Okay, enough with that commercial break. So that's going to be 199.5, right? So this is 199. So this is our lower class boundary. What's going to be our upper class boundary? Well, same thing. So now I need the upper class boundary for this class. So it's going to be 224 plus 225 divided by 2. Y'all with me? And you should know by now it's going to be halfway in the middle, so 224.5. But 224 plus 225 divided by 2 equals 224.5. It never hurts to check, right? So this is 224.5. That was 199.5. All right. So I'm just going to put a little dash here. It doesn't mean through. So 224.5. Booyah. Okay. So we have our class boundary for what? Class 2. So if your instructor asks you, what's the class boundary for class 200 to 224? You say, I got this A. So you're going to say it's 199.5 to 224.5. That's what the lower class boundary is 199.5 and the upper class boundary, what y'all, is 224.5, okay? So you know how to work it all the way down. So what would be the upper class boundary for class 1? Well, the upper class boundary for class 1 is actually going to be the lower class boundary for class 2. Yes, that's what it's going to be, right? So because if you take 199 and 200, right, you're going to get 199.5. Now, these are not like classes where they can't overlap. They will overlap because you're talking about where it bounds at. The reason I saved this one is because now you need the lower class. So what you would do, remember, you got to take the lower class boundary of this 175, and then you would have had to take an upper class boundary, not down here somewhere, but that would have been the upper class boundary that you don't even see up here that's about to pop up. Damn! That's what you have to remember when you're finding the lower class boundary and the upper class boundary for the first class and the last class. You got to say, damn! And then pop up the number. All right, so it would have been 174 plus 175, which giving you 174.5. All right, so I'm not doing it in my calculator, so you get 174.5. So that's the tricky part when you're doing the first class, and when you're doing the class boundaries for the first class, you got to which a new number, and then for the last class, you got to which a new number. All right, other than that, it's pretty easy. So to fill this in here, this would be 224.5 because it's the last one. And then this is 249 plus 250, which is 249.5. And you can go through and figure these all out. Whatcha? 325. So 324 with the 325 that would have been there is going to give you 324.5. Now you have your lower and upper class boundaries. Now some of your instructors may ask you for this whole thing. I probably won't. I'll probably say, well, what's the upper and lower class boundary for class 1? Hit you with the watch out, right? And then on an easier problem, I might ask you, what's the lower and upper class boundary of class 3, where you don't have to watch out, right? You don't have to come in with no Bruce Leroy up in here. With that being the case, that's your class boundaries. Boom, we got our class boundaries. We are moving. Let's move over to midpoint. Midpoint is pretty easy. You should already know how to do a midpoint, but this is an instructional video on YouTube. And by the way, click that like button over there if you like what we're doing here. Don't forget and subscribe to the channel because I'm on my way to 201. So anyway, so subscribe to the channel. Midpoint. So actually, comment down below if you know how to do midpoint. Just type midpoint up in there, okay? So let's do the midpoint. How do we do the midpoint? Now you got to go back to some algebra. I thought I was in statistics. Who brought algebra up in this piece? All right. Remember, midpoints for algebra was to take the 2 points, add them together, divide by 2, and you get a midpoint, right? From point A to point B, you add them together, divide by 2, and smacked in the middle, right? So that's the same thing with midpoint. Midpoint, the formula for midpoint looks just like the formula for lower class boundaries. However, we're using 2 different numbers. We're not using boundaries number. We're just using the number in the class. So in this class, right, if we want to find the midpoint, we're going to take in class 1, we're going to take the midpoint is going to be what? 175 plus 194, and we're going to divide that joint by 2, right? So that's what the midpoint is. The midpoint is the middle of the 2 points, right? And that's 199. Look at me, I can't even read my own handwriting, right? Take that joint and divide it by 2. I'm doing it on my handheld because you can do it up there. You get 187. All right, so the midpoint for class 1 is 187. I'm not monetizable. We're going to take a commercial break. All right, so you can continue to get these numbers. What's good again? This is our second video on PS I Love Math. And just to say, what are you doing? Are you going to say something?
Hey guys, I'm back again, you know, highly requested by popular demand. I got my hair done today. I'm not as crusty because I got money. Why do I have money? Because I have a nice job. Why do I have a nice job? Because I got an A in stats. manifestation.
You ain't got no damn job.
Why would you say that? I was doing manifestation.
You manifesting a job.
Yeah, manifesting a job and an A in stats.
And A in stats.
You get an A in stats, you have a job. Success.
Turn off the clip. Turn it off. Don't start that. And what I came up with earlier is 212-237-262-287 and 312. Booyah. Okay. So how did we get that? Just again, so if I wanted to do that last one with 300 to 324, let's pull out that TI84. And don't forget to click the link down below to get yourself a TI84. And it is a affiliate link. I think I need to say that. Anyway, all right, so we get 300 to 324. So you take your 300, add the 324. Booyah, divide that by 2, and there you go with 312. So that's your midpoint. Shucks, we almost finished. Didn't get this long ass problem.
Oh my God!
Okay, relative Sheila super. Okay, so relative frequency, right? So your relative frequency is going to be the number in your frequency divided by the total. This total, remember you had a frequency here, right? So this frequency had a total number, and that was 5, 10, 12, 16, 20, 24, I think. Yeah, and at the top of the problem, it says we had 24 collegiates, all right? So you ain't have to do that. The total was 24. So to find your relative frequency, you're going to take what we're going to call F over N. N is always the total in stat, lowercase n. That's an F, by the way. I don't even know how to make them, but I know how to get them. Or should I say give them? All right, that's bad. All right, so F over N. So we're going to take F over N. So in this one, we're really going to take 5 and divide it by 24, right? Pop it in your calculator. Now, depending on what some of your instructors want, they may want you to leave it at 5 over 24. In my class, that's in Professor Sampson's class, P.S. I love math. In Professor Sampson's class, you must do 3 decimal places. I have no nails. You know Corona is killing it. All right, so 3 decimal places. So with the 3 decimal places, that's going to be 0.208. And please don't forget to round properly. You know, you don't want to get points taken off for your second grade rounding rules. Sure. All right, and then the next one's 4 divided by 24, which is going to give me, look, 1.66666666, and then that means you got to round it. So 4 divided by 24, just so you see, 4 divided by 24, you got 0.1666. I said 3 decimal places. Ask your teacher what they're looking for. So for my class, it's 0.167. All right, so using those rounding rules from 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. All right. 0.167. Again, your teacher may just let you leave it at 4 over 24 or whatever. That's not my kind of thing. I don't do that. All right. So then we go down and we go ahead and we go through all of ours, just dividing it. So I already know that 5 is 0.208 because I had it before. 0.167, 0.167. The only one I didn't do was 2 over 24, which is going to give me 0.0883. There you go. Now, sometimes a question may ask you, what's the percentage? How do we get a percentage from a decimal? We move the decimal. That don't even sound right. Move the decimal place 2 places to the right. So if they ask you what was the percentage of class 1 in a relative frequency, that would be 20.8%. Okay? Or the next one would be 16.7%. Again, check with your instructor to see what days be looking for. All right. I told you I'm looking for the decimals. They may ask you to leave the fractions, or you may be asked to do a percent. It is up to you. Did you see that screen move? I was doing a matrix up in there. Right, so that takes care of that one. So those are your relative frequency. And last but not least is the cumulative frequency. I cannot, unless I want to get banned from YouTube, use the first 3 letters for that word. I'll let you think about it. All right, so cumulative frequency there. All right, we're going to just add them. So if you look at the frequencies, and I'm going to draw this weird pink mama thingamabob-majig. It's my favorite color. I don't even know where to mark them. Okay, so I'm going to draw this pink thing over here. See these frequencies? Okay, so I'm going to do that. So the cumulative frequency is going to start with 5, right? And then I'm going to add the next number, which is 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 plus 5 is, I don't know, 14. 14 plus 4 is 18. 18 plus 4 is 22. And 22 plus 2 is 24. I need a tick and a top and a tick, and we're done, and we're done, and we're... Okay, so anyway, so 24. So 24 is going to be your last one, and it makes sense because you just added all of these up, remember? Remember, you just added all these up. So this number better be your total, or your whole damn problem's wrong. You done failed the class. Thank you very much for coming. God bless. All right. So anyway, so 24 should be what we got. So that's what we did today. So we did what? We did some class boundaries. We did some frequency. We did some midpoints. We did some relative frequency. We did some cumulative frequency. We was just frequent with it. So I know you like this video. Please subscribe so you can get some more of these statistical bangers and see me, of course. Who else does statistics like this? Nobody on YouTube, right? All right. So anyway, take care of yourself. Please comment, like, and subscribe so I could get 201 people.
I hope you liked the video that I just gave you on midpoints, frequency tables, frequency distribution, and on I hope you like our video on frequency table, frequency distribution, midpoint, and relative frequency. Come back for more. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to PS I Love Math.
If you want love, look somewhere else. Heal for nothing. Just give it up.
Well, I don't really know. You know, I started signing when you said don't forget to talk about frequency. I said a lot of math words. I don't know the words to.
Why don't you manifest that? Get out, get out, get out. What are you doing? What are we doing here? And why are you all in the camera?
I'm trying to want to be on top.